Welcome, everybody, for another edition of our weekly webinar for Thursday, November 17th, 2022. My name is Sherwin Keeley, and I'm going to be your host today for Perfect Fit Closets Advanced Training. Today, we're going to be talking about our final checks prior to placing an order. Today, we're going to check on our modules, check on our drawers, check out our profiles and colors, adding notes, adding line-to-line annotations, adding in our design information, and how to send it to the order desk at orders@perfectfitcanada.com. A lot of our dealers have been asking, what can I do to check our file prior to ordering? And let's go ahead and do that today. All right, so I've got a design here that I quickly made, and this is typically what it looks like that is unedited. We've dragged and dropped our tall modules, our accessories, our shelving and component. And let's go ahead and take a look at our perspective view and see what it looks like. So here is my design. In my design, I have here a tall corner module, two tall modules, it looks like with a pant rack. I've got a window, and I've also got three modules here that are fully enclosed with cabinet doors. Everything is all standard white. Whenever you drag and drop any item into the design file, everything will come in TFL1 Galaxy White. All accessories will come in chrome, and all closet rods are going to be oval chrome rods. We can certainly change that in our features and options at the very end. Every time you close the actual program and you open up the program again with the current file, and you drag and drop another item, again, it comes in white and oval chrome rods as well as chrome accessories. So we always have to be constantly changing our features and options and changing the profiles and the colors and such every time we do edits. The first thing that I like to do is I'm going to check our modules, and at the same time, I'm also going to add notes and my line-to-line annotations. I can see here I have EL1, EL2, EL3, and EL4, depicting the four different wall types and four different wall areas. Now, there is no set item that I typically like to do first. I like to kind of maybe start labeling all my elevations as well as my top view. And at the same time, I'll check my modules and add my notes and such. To make things easier, let's go ahead and now add our notes. The first tab, and I know that that's going to be on elevation 1, so I'm going to label this bottom section here elevation 1. I'm going to label this elevation 1 as well as the tab. I'll click on my annotations tab, click on add note, and at the very top, I'm going to label this as elevation 1. I'll do the same thing on the tab itself. I'm going to double click EL1 and I'll label this as elevation 1. You can use any naming conventions such as right wall, left wall, back wall, wall A, wall B, wall C, whatever you'd like. I'm going to click on add note here at the very bottom. Again, elevation 1. Click on OK. I can zoom in, click it once. I have a little squiggly little button here. I'm going to left click and hold and just change the orientation. And I'll do that for the remainder of the tab. So I'll do it one more time. So I'm now going to click on EL2. This is going to be the back window wall here. Annotations tab, add note, and let's add elevation 2. Move that over and center it. Double click on the tab itself. And again, I'll label that as elevation 2. And on the top view, I'll make that elevation 2. And I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the elevations. I have now labeled all the elevations from elevation 1 to elevation 4. As indicated, I've added my extra notes. Adding more notes is better than adding less. As well as the top view, I've got elevation 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's go ahead back to elevation 1, and we're going to check our modules. I'm going to left click anywhere in this area, and it looks like here I have one module with two openings, opening 1 and opening 2. I know that this is an end panel right here, so I'm going to right click and left click the attributes for my T module, short for tall module. Once in attributes, another dialog box will appear. I'm going to move that over to the side so everyone can see. I'm going to right click the illustration so I can see it a bit better. I'm going to double check that this panel on the left is half drilled. So I'm going to left click my variables tab, and at the very bottom, I'm going to find panel on the left. So my panel left is half drilled. The panel on the right is removed, just like the illustration here. Most likely because I'm sharing it with this existing module beside it. This is exactly what we want, and this is exactly what we wanted to check. Half drilled panel and panel removed. We'll click on OK or cancel because we didn't save any changes. And now I'm going to click on my annotations tab, click on add note. And I'm going to add a note indicating that this panel is half drilled. Whatever your naming convention is, we just want to let the client know as well as the installers. This will act as your final checks, and this will also be most notably be for your installers. This is going to be the blueprint for your install crew. So we want to make sure everything is labeled perfectly. So now that I know that this module is checked, we can check this module. So again, we're doing the checklist, we're going to be adding notes and adding and checking our modules. So checking our modules and checking our notes and adding annotations. So that's what we're currently doing for every single elevation. So I'm going to right click on this module. It looks like here's a tall corner module. We'll go into our attributes. And we'll double check the properties, right click the illustration. And I know that the module on the right-hand side on elevation 2 is going to be half drilled. It needs to have a clean face. And I have a fully drilled panel here. So let's just double check and confirm. We'll go to our variables. So the panel on the left should be fully drilled, which is correct. And the panel on the right is half drilled, which is correct. We'll click on OK. And so now I can go onto this side and make my label for my corner module that this panel is half drilled. Left click on OK. And I'm going to left click once, I have my squiggly line, I'm going to left click and hold, and I'm going to change the orientation. Alternatively, you can right click the note and left click rotate, and that will also rotate the orientation of your note. Let's go back to elevation 1. And as we indicated, we're going to click on our line-to-line annotations. A request by somebody here on our webinar is asking about hotkeys. Let's quickly digress and talk about hotkeys. I'm going to use a lot of our line-to-line annotations. So I'm going to use a lot of our notes, as well as in our annotations tab, I'm going to click on a lot of our line-to-line annotations. Our line-to-line annotations will create point-to-point annotations. So I know from the very top of the module to the floor is 83 15/16. So instead of left-clicking annotations tab and left-clicking line to line every single time, we can create a hotkey for that, and we can create a hotkey for add note. At the very top, I see a bar and a upside down triangle. It's called Customize Quick Access Toolbar. I'm going to left-click on that, click on More Commands. Underneath More Commands, I'm going to click on Keyboard Shortcuts called Customize. I'm going to left-click our Customize button. Underneath our categories, I'm going to select our annotations. In our annotations, I'm going to find Note. Note. And to grab a new hotkey, I'm going to just delete it because my current hotkey is F3. To create a new hotkey for my Note button, I'm going to left-click in this my cursor in this press new shortcut key bar. I'm going to click on F3 because I know my F3 button is not in use. I'm going to assign my F3 button to add notes, and we're going to click on assign. Next one is my line-to-line annotation, line-to-line dimensions. I'm going to remove that just for a moment here. So my annotations, line-to-line dimension, left-click, press new shortcut key. I want my F2 button because I know that's not in use, and we'll click on assign. So now I have my line-to-line dimensions as F2 and my note as F3. We'll click on close and OK. And now I can use my hotkey on my keyboard. So for example, the very top of this rod to the very bottom, that's going to be for my long hang. And I'm going to have it the average height of 60 inches. So now I'm going to move my hanging rod up and see if I can create 60 inches. Created 60 inches, and now I can check my hotkey, and now I have my line-to-line annotations. The very top of the rod for this double hang, or this one single hang, 34 inches. We're going to go up one hole. Some dealers like to go down one hole, and some dealers like to go down two holes. If you go down two holes, you're going to have an actual variance of 2 3/16 from the bottom of the fixed shelf to the top of the rod. If you go based on one hole, we'll move this up one. If we move this up one hole, we have now a variance of 15/16 or 1 inch. So this will be dependent on your client to see how much wiggle room they would like. Some actual hangers are larger than others. So again, that'll be very flexible. You can move it up or down. On this set, I'm going to move it down 2 holes to give them a little bit more extra space. This is a very crucial component for the line-to-line annotations. There's going to be a lot of people that's got longer clothes. A lot of people are going to have shorter clothes. So we always want to grab the actual annotation or the line-to-line annotation from the top of the rod to the next clearance. So now I have a clearance of 36 1/8, and now your client can actually measure their current closet and what variance they would need. The average single hang for short shirts and pants and jackets is going to be between 36 inches to 38 inches. So I am in line, but I could also bring this fixed shelf down one hole, and now I've created 37 inches. Here at the very bottom, we can grab another line to line, 6 7/16, so somebody can put something in there. Then there's another variance of 3 1/16. That's too much of a variance. I'm going to go down another hole. Variance of 2 1/2 is great. And let's right click on this. This is a pant rack. We'll go into my attributes just to double check what it is. A new dialog box appears. And indeed, we do have a pull out Synergy Collection pant rack. We'll click on OK and get rid of this or cancel. I'll click on my add note or my F3 button as my new hotkey. And I'm going to say that this is my pull out pant rack. So again, we're just labeling it like so. And we can also grab my line-to-line annotations to see how tall the pant rack is. And I have a clearance at the very bottom of 1 5/16. Next is my corner module. I've got 2 adjustable shelves and 1 fixed shelf. So it's going to be easy for us to actually place this in position. We want to have this actual middle fixed shelf in the center. So let's click on an F2 button. Let's go to the very bottom of the top fixed shelf, all the way to the top of the middle fixed shelf, and vice versa. So we're now going to make it centered. So that's 42 1/16, and this is 35 3/16. So let's left click my middle fixed shelf. That's the corner middle fixed shelf. And let's move it up a couple holes and see if we can make it centered. I have one section at 38, one section at 39, so that's perfect. And now we can go ahead and delete these annotations. And now I can go ahead and add my annotations like so, and move it around accordingly. Perfect. And that is perfect. Or I can go up one hole. Oh, let's go down one hole. There we go, 18 and 19. So if I go down one more, it's going to be lopsided. So let's just go up one. So now I have all the necessary notes and my line-to-line annotations. This would be great for the actual sign-off sheet for your clients. And this gives me all the necessary measurements for my install crew, as well as all the labels. Let's work on elevation 2. I've got a window here. And again, we can certainly add the very top to the bottom. So I have an actual clearance of 83 and 15/16 as my, sorry, not clearance, but my install height. Now you can see here that we've grabbed it, but I have this extra line here. I can right click on the actual line and left extended line. I can actually move this back and forth. And let's actually just make this a bit bigger so everyone can see. So I'm going to right click on the line, and now I can move it left and right. So I'll try that again. I'm going to right click, left line extended, and I can move it back and forth, or use the right line extended and move it back and forth to clean it up a bit. Again, I'm going to use my hotkey and grab my annotations. Perfect. And then we can also add our annotations for my window. So if you're ever doing your window, you can certainly let the client know that we have measured your window, and here are the current dimensions. We could also give dimensions on clearance wise and so forth. So add as many line to line and notes as possible. So we're all done with this elevation. Let's click on save and let's keep moving on to elevation 3. Now, once it's saved, we'll go to elevation 3. So in elevation 3, let's first check our modules. So I'm going to right click anywhere in the area. It's a tall module, T-mod, abbreviated. I can see right behind it that there are 4 blue squares on all 4 corners. So that means I've got one tall module with 3 openings. So let's click on our attributes and let's double check. Everything should be fully drilled. Let's right click the illustration, left click on our variables, and let's scroll down, and all our panels should be fully drilled. Okay, so right here we have panel on the left is fully drilled, panel on the right is half drilled. Let's make it all fully drilled, make it easier for the installer. It's all going to be hidden away. So let's add fully drilled panels on the left and fully drilled panels on the right. We'll click on apply, and then we'll click on OK. So we don't need to add any notes. Installer knows that this is going to be all fully drilled. I also have a 2-inch variance on the left and a 2-inch variance on the right. So we want to add fillers. Now I don't have fillers here, but let's double check our top view. Sometimes fillers will appear on your elevation. Sometimes they will not appear on your elevation, but they will always appear on your top view. I'm going to click on my zoom to fit button, and let's explode this. On the top left-hand side, I can see that I have a filler right here. If I right-click the filler, just so that we can double check, all fillers, whenever we drag and drop them, will always be the height of the module that's attached to, but also going to be 3 inches. We can see that the height is 83 and 15/16 and attached it to right to the module, and the width is 3 inches. That's great. That way my installer can cut and scribe the filler right on site. And I should have another one at the very bottom. And on the very far right side. And there is my filler like so. So now I can actually add notes. Let's go fit to screen here. And now I can actually add notes at the very bottom or wherever I'd like. There's going to be a 2-inch variance on the left and right. And there are 3-inch fillers, and there's 2 of them. So now I've got notes for my installer, and there are indeed fillers there. So let's right click the module again, see if we've missed anything else. Right click the illustration. Now the depth is 24 inches. So why don't we make a note for the installers that the elevation 1 and 2 are 14 inches deep, and we'll label this as 24 inches deep. So let's click on OK. That's something that we certainly missed. So let's go ahead and grab our F3 button. Let's add a note. And I'll say that these are 24-inch deep modules. And let's go back to elevation 1 and add a note. And we'll say that these ones are 14-inch deep modules. And once again, I can't stress it enough. We always want to add as many notes as possible. Now that I have my notes for my fillers and my modules, let's go ahead and start adding our line-to-line annotations and notes. So I have my closet rod here. I have down one hole, and the very top of the rod to the next clearance is 36 1/8. We'll do the same thing here. And that's 37. So 36 and 37, that's perfect. Everything's lined up. I don't have to do anything further. I don't need any schematics on the next module because it mimics the exact same design, left and right. Let's double check that the middle fixed shelf is dead center. 38 and 36, which is perfect. And now I can go ahead and line up my adjustable shelves. So let's grab every single annotation there. All right, so let's go ahead and just start moving this manually. 12, 11, 12, which is perfect. Let's move this up. Move this down one. So now I have 12, 13, 12, which is perfect, and that's exactly ideal. Every single fixed shelf in the middle is lined up. I want to grab my installation height. And the clearance from the very top of the ceiling to here is 12. And a 16th. And we didn't add the clearance in the elevation one, so let's go ahead and do that as well. So now the client knows that there is 12 and a 16th of clearance. Clients tend to put suitcases and boxes or shoe boxes at the very top. Now that we're done elevation 3, we've added all the notes possible here. Let's go to elevation 4. There's nothing on elevation 4. So now that's done, let's go ahead and click on save. And now we're going to work on our top view. Now in my top view, 2020 is very smart. It adds every single line-to-line annotation possible, but we want to clean this up. We have a little bit too many notes on here. So to delete entirety of the line, I can left click off screen so nothing's highlighted. Now I'm going to right click anywhere on this line here. Let's clean up elevation 2. I'm going to right click, and now I'm going to say auto dim the entirety of the length of 120 inches, and then we're going to left click hide. Now hid the entire line to line annotation. Again, right click, go to the very bottom of the auto dim and hide. So I can keep doing that and add only notes that I want, or only add annotations that I require. So again, I don't need this. Right click, auto dim, hide. Right click, auto dim, hide. And these are all the measurements that I want, so let's leave it alone. Right click, auto dim, and hide. So now I can kind of move everything and sharpen up my plan just a little bit. For elevation 4, I can manually do it and do individual lines. I can left click the line and just highlight that particular line and down and delete them or hide them individually. So either way works. We know that this is a 24-inch module, and we know that this is a 14-inch module here. Now that we're done, let's go ahead and beautify this and finalize our designs here. We can always click on our lighting package. To do our lighting package, I'm going to go into my local browser, click the drop-down button and click on Room FUR. I'm going to double click on our lighting fixtures, and let's add some ceiling lights. I'm going to pick on the ceiling light 3 track, pick whatever lighting you'd like. I'm going to drag it in, drop it off screen. Once it's dropped off screen, I can then drag and drop it over here. I'm going to right click the actual mouse button and rotate and add my ceiling lights. So left click, drag, drop it off screen, let go of your mouse, right click the actual button and rotate and drop it, and left click and move. So again, left click, drag, left click and let go, right click, rotate, and left click and drag. So there's got my ceiling lights, and I can always go click on my view button, click on my cloud browser, and let's add a plant in there. I like adding plants. left click and typed in plant. So again, I'm in my cloud browser, underneath browse. In the selection, I'm going to click on plant, and I'm going to find the applicable plant that I like. I'm going to choose my aloe vera plant. It is my favorite plant to use. Here's my aloe vera plant in the rectangular pot. Left click, drop it off screen. Once it's dropped off screen, bring it into the design and drop your plant. We could also add a bench in there if we'd like. Let's add one bench. Type in bench. And we can beautify this. Left click, drag, drop it off screen. Right click and rotate. Left click and drag it in. And drop. So now I've got a bench. So let's click on our perspective view. Left click our perspective view. I've only added 2 items as well as some lights, and that should help beautify the actual design. So here's my design, just populating right now. So adding a bench and a plant really does help with the design. Okay, moving on. Next is we got to check if there's any drawers or profiles or check colors and so forth. Now we don't have any drawers here, but let's go ahead and add that in there just to help with the design here. Let's go ahead and let's add some drawers here. Actually, we're not gonna make this a long hang anymore. We're gonna delete this and we're gonna add some drawers. We'll go back to my local browser, go into PFC USA, go to my parts, drawers, and I'm gonna add a bunch of drawers here. I'm gonna pick the unassembled TFL Galaxy White and drop in a few drawers. Go my parts, shelves, and it's gonna be half overlay. We'll drop one in there and we'll drop another adjustable shelf like so. And we'll add our line-to-line annotations. There's gonna be our drawer front. So let's go to the very top. Let's find our drawer front size, 11 1/4, and from preparation to perforation, and that's going to be my actual drawer size, the drawer box itself. So the drawer front is 11 1/4, but the box itself behind it is 9 1/8. So again, we'll just do the remainder. And I'll just zoom in with my mouse and grab all my annotations. So I've got drawer boxes here now. Let's go to elevation 3. I'm going to actually add an actual drawer box right here. And let's go ahead and delete the shelf. I'm going to go ahead, my parts, drawers, and I'm going to grab a scooped drawer instead. Scoop drawers can only work for our modules that have doors in the front. So there's my scoop drawer. We'll click on OK, and we will drop it in. It's going to give me a collision, and I'll tell you why in just a moment here. We're going to drag and drop another scooped dovetail drawer box. Click on OK, and drop. Move this like so. So I've got 2 drawers. And grab my annotations. And I have my annotations. Please note, for all scooped dovetail drawer boxes, requires one setting done in attributes. I'm going to right click on the scooped dovetail drawer box, so scooped dovetail drawer box, 8 inches, and we're going to go into our attributes. Whenever you have a collision here, we're going to go into our attributes. We're going to left click on our variables, and several rows down, it says behind door. It's currently defaulted as no, but we know that this is going to be behind an actual cabinet door. I'm going to left click and select yes, it's going to be behind the door. Now look what just happened here. It has now shrank and it's a little bit more narrow now, and we've got spacers. We're going to left click OK and save the change. So you can see the collision is now gone. It is now narrow. We've added spacers. And the reason why we do this is that it has to clear the doors. When these cabinet doors open, we have to have ample room for us to actually pull out the actual scoop dovetail drawer box. So therefore, we have to add a spacer to make it a little bit narrower to get that clearance out of the way. We'll do the same thing again for this scoop dovetail drawer box. We'll right click, scoop dovetail drawer box, click on our variables. We're going to right click the illustration, left click on our variables, several rows down, behind door, it's no. We're going to click on yes. It's now more narrow. We'll click on OK. And my collisions have now disappeared. Let's add some better annotations there. And that is my scooped dovetail drawer box. So let's go ahead and our annotations, and we'll just say that this is our scooped dovetail drawer boxes with spacers behind doors. So now we have a perfect label for our install crew. On the other side here, on elevation 1, nothing needs to be done here. We'll just add a note, and we'll just say that there are 3 drawer boxes under mount soft close slides. Click on OK. Let's save our design. And now we can do our final check for our drawers and profiles and colors and such. So this is where we're at. We've already completed our module check. We've completed our notes. We've completed our line-to-line annotations. So now we're going to check our colors, profiles, and drawers. To change your colors and drawer fronts and profiles, we're going to click on our Items tab. In our Items tab, we're going to click on our Features and Options button. In our Features and Options button, a new dialog box will appear. And the easiest thing to do is we're going to select everything in its entirety. So here's my Features and Options page. I can individually select items. And actually, let's make this a little bit smaller here just so people can see. I can left click every single item that I'd like and individually change everything, or I can select global. If I select on global, I am now selecting everything in its entirety. So now I can change all the profiles and colors all at the same time. Now that global is selected, let's go from top to bottom. For the finished structure, it's currently defaulted in TFL1 Galaxy White. If I click the drop-down button, I can certainly change it to our TFL2, TFL3, 4, matte, or high gloss. Let's keep it all TFL1 white. Rods and finishes. Again, default is oval chrome rod, but this is where you would change your selection from oval round rod chrome, round rod matte aluminum, and so forth. We'll keep it an oval chrome rod. It's standard in the industry. Drawer front profile. Now, I don't want them to be Euro flat front. Let's change it now to a 5-piece shaker. So I can click on the drop-down button, or I can select the icon on the right-hand side. We're going to click on a 5-piece shaker, and let's follow down the wizard in the list. So now that's a 5-piece shaker for all drawer front profiles. The next is pull option. Default is no handle. I can now select push to open, no handle if you're going to provide your own handle, or one of our handles that we get from HAFLA USA and HAFLA Canada. Let's click on no hand, or actually let's click on our 32mm chrome handle. So now all the drawers, remember we have 3 drawers, they're all going to have our 32mm chrome handles now, indicated right there. Next is the finished drawer fronts. So do we want to change the finish on my drawer fronts to a different color or keep them the same as the structure? We'll keep them the same as TFL1, all in white. Next is door front profile. Now remember, on elevation 3, we had 3 modules and we had 2 doors on each module, so for a total of 6 doors. Let's now change them to a 5-piece shaker, or we can change them to a 5-piece glass door. Let's go ahead and change them to a 5-piece glass door. This is still a TFL product with a glass inset in the middle. And let's make this clear. The next item underneath door front profile is inserts and decorative paneling. There's only one category. It's called the Venezia Italian glass line. We'll leave it as is. Venezia inserts. Default is clear, but I can choose mirror, brush gold, and so forth. I'm going to keep it at clear. Please note, whatever you select for our glass offerings, it will always show clear on the perspective view, even if you choose Celsius Argento or Frosted or Ice Acid or Ice Acid Mirror. 2020 was unable to upload our actual glass insert into the perspective view. So they will always show clear on the actual render. So I'll click on clear anyways. Pull option, we're going to keep it the same as our drawers and have the 32mm drawers. So left click on our NH, no handle, and left click on our 32mm chrome. Moving on, the next item is going to be the finish for our doors. So now we've changed the actual profile, we changed the glass to clear, we put the handle on, and now the finished doors. We're going to keep it at TFL1 and white. Next is our slide options for our drawers. We have 3 drawers that are all undermount soft close slides. If I want to change it to side mounts, I certainly can, but most of our dealers will choose our undermount soft close slides and hide the mechanism. We'll keep it as is. Next is our accessory finish. Now I know that we have one accessory on there, and we have our pull-up pant rack. The pull-up pant rack will be in polished chrome, but this is going to be the option where I can change it to dark old bronze, matte aluminum, matte nickel, and so forth. And we'll keep it as is. Moving on is edge banding, thickness, melamine color drawer boxes. Now from edge banding all the way down, I do not touch this whatsoever. By default, we will always edge band the front of all items and the top and bottom of items. We're going to keep it as is. We don't want to change anything here, and we'll leave it at the default. We'll click on OK. Let the program do its work, let it save, and let's take a look at perspective view. Once that's all done, perspective view. And I can double check now. I can see my actual drawer boxes. They're all in a 5-piece shaker with my 32mm chrome handles. You can see my bench and my aloe vera plant, my window, and so forth. So you can really beautify and use the curb appeal for 2020, which is fantastic. Check the other side. And let's use the clipping art here. So I'm going to left click clipping. I'm going to slide the bar closer to the middle. Now I can actually go through the walls. So I'll leave the bar kind of sort of in the middle. And now we can actually take a look. And it's just auto saving there, so we'll just give it a second. I've got my clipping art slider moved over to the side, so when I go ahead and move some of my walls, I can see through them. And if it's too severe, we can go back to our clipping art, left click, and move the slider over to the left or the right. Let's move it over to the left a little bit. And now we can kind of keep zooming in till we find the exact point of view that we'd like. So we can see that we have our 5-piece glass doors, all in clear, which works out perfect and beautifully. On the other side, we have got our 5-piece doors here. We've got our pant rack. Everything looks great. We have half-drilled panels here. Everything looks dandy here on our perspective view. Let's get out of our perspective view. Let's do a final check on our top view. In our top view, because we made a couple changes to our drawer boxes, it created a few more line-to-line annotations. So we can go ahead and just start cleaning that up ever so slightly. Every time you add one item in there, 2020 adds more line-to-line annotations. Okay, so let's right-click Auto Dim, hide the entirety of the line here. Oops. And we can left-click individual items because I can't really see what I'm doing here. And again, we're just clicking individual lines here. All right, now that's done. Oh, there's one more here. All right, now I need one more note. I actually don't have an actual overview of exactly which project this is. So I'm going to left click on my notes, and I have an actual template that's saved. So I'm going to click on my template, and now I can fill in my project. So my project is going to be called Master version 3. And let's say that this is for me, for Keeley. The material is 3/4 inches TFL. The color is TFL1 Galaxy White. My install is 83 and 15/16. I've got one chrome pant rack. I've got my drawer boxes are going to be 5-piece unassembled. Drawer front profile is going to be 5-piece shaker. Drawer handles 32mm chrome. Door front profile is going to be a 5-piece glass clear. Door handles are going to be 32mm chrome. And my hanging rods are oval chrome rods. So you can really choose whatever you like. Every designer is going to be a bit different on their actual layout. Here's currently my layout. This is what I like to do and save it every single time. Somebody's actually asking on the webinar, how do we create our own template? So if we click on add note, we'll just add a note here on the right-hand side. We'll just say tests, tests, and tests. So we can kind of create a template here however we wish. We're going to click on save. We're going to save it in the 2020 file group, and I'm going to label this as test 1 November 17th, just so that we can find it. Click on OK. And drop it. So here's my template. So let's go ahead and delete this template for a second here. Let's go add note, and let's find the template. We're going to click on open. It goes to our 2020 files, and this is the one that we wanted to use, test 1 November 17th. We're going to click on open, and there's my template. I can go ahead and start resuming here. So that's how you go ahead and save your own template. We'll click on cancel. We're going to click on save, and now let's see our final checks. We've checked our modules, we've checked all the drawers, we've checked all our profiles, check colors. Oh, and somebody just actually logged into our webinar indicating that we have 2 types of drawers. So thank you so much. So this is why we do our checks. We've got our dovetail drawer boxes here. So underneath our notes, I'm going to add my drawer boxes 5-piece unassembled. And right here, drawer boxes behind doors, dovetail scooped. Thank you very much. All right, so now that we've done that, let's go back to our checklist. So we've checked our modules, our drawers, our profiles, our colors, our notes, our line-to-line annotations. Next is our design info. In our design info, we're going to click on our home tab and left click on design info. In our design info, I have a new dialog box appears called design information. I have customer tab, address tab, dealer tab, design tab. This is very important so that we can label all the parts and pieces according to that room. Underneath customer, this is a mandatory item, first name and last name. If it's a company or even a showroom, it has to populate some sort of field there. So let's go ahead and just say that this is going to be for Bob, and this is going to say for Thomas, for last name. Just picking any random name. So these are the 2 items that need to be filled in, even abbreviated, even a first initial and last initial, that's fine. Address, I don't need to put anything for address. Under dealer, let's put in our dealer name. So let's just say that this is Concept Kitchens as an example. Okay, that is what's required. Next is underneath the design tab, we got to put in the designer name. Let's put in my name as the designer and the project ID. This is going to be for Master version 3. Any label you'd like. So every single sticker that we're going to label for all these parts are now going to say Master version 3. So let's go ahead and recap. I'm going to left click on the home tab, left click on design info, a new dialog box appears, 4 different tabs. Underneath the customer tab, I need first name and last name. That's 1. Address, nothing needs to be filled in. Dealer, I need to put in my dealer information, which is Concept Kitchens. So that's going to be my second item. Next is my third tab, design. I need to type in my name as the designer and what label we're going to have for all our stickers. And we're going to label it as master version 3. We'll click on OK. And let's go back to our checklist. Next is we can now send this to orders. Before sending to orders, I want to add two things. We need to, 1, grab the plan view, 2, grab the cost cell report, 3, grab our renders, and then we can actually send this to our order desk. To create our plan view, okay, I'm going to do one final save. I have everything I need. I don't need to do any more work on it. I'm saving all the annotations, all the notes, and so forth, and all the profiles. Once it's done saving, let's now create our plan view. I've labeled this as master version 3, so I'm going to give a better actual label because that's actually not a very good label. I typically like to have the customer's name and then the actual room name. So let's say that this is for Thomas and this is for master version 3. So now I've got the actual proper label. It's got the customer's last name and the actual room and the version number. We'll click on save. So we're going to label everything as Thomas master version 3. Once it's done saving, to grab my plan view, I'm going to go ahead and left click my file and print. So we're going to pretend that we're going to print. We're going to click on the print button once again. We're going to left click the drop down button. I'm not sending it to my Epson printer. I want to send it to my Microsoft Print to PDF. In the range, default is current work selection. I want all access views. So that way I can grab a PDF for all my elevations as well as my top view. So those are going to be the only 2 items I want. Changing it from Microsoft Print to PDF and all access views. We'll click on OK. Another dialog box appears, and I'm going to label this as Thomas Master version 3, but I'm going to say that this is my plan view. Okay, we'll click on OK. So all the naming convention is all correct. Now that I have my plan view all done, I'm now going to grab my cost and sell report. The cost and sell report is a detailed report of every single line item and every single part and fastener and the cost associated. I'm going to left click on my presentation tab, left click on reports. I'm going to left click on my cost and sell report. A new dialog box is going to appear. I'm going to left click on my view button. And once that's done populating, I'm going to export this document to a PDF. And while it's populating, I can see the export button, and this is the button that I'm going to be using as soon as it's done populating. This is a fantastic report to grab. It'll show the exact creation date and every single line item and the exact quantity for everything that you're going to need here. I'm going to left click on export, left click PDF format, export this. Now you don't have to grab the cost and sell report every time, but this is for orders. We definitely need it. It is our company policy that you need the cost and sell report. I'm going to label this as Thomas Master version 3, and I'm going to delete plan view and just say that this is my cost and sell report. Click on close, and now I can go into my perspective view and grab my renders. I'll just grab one render for now. Obviously, we have different tutorials on how to create fantastic renders and how to take snapshot and snippets in our past webinars. So let's go ahead and just grab the top view for now and expedite, left click, save as, high resolution image, click on OK. And now it's grabbing my high resolution image and rendering. This does take a little bit of time. It is communicating through the internet lines, going back and forth and talking to the server. New dialog box appears. We're going to click on Thomas. And instead of plan view, we're going to delete the last page and we're going to say picture 1. So I've got all my files necessary. We're going to click on save and get out of here. And let's open up an email. So here's my email. I'm going to send this down to orders@perfectfitcanada.com. I'm going to say that this is my PO number, Thomas Master or Thomas Project. For my Thomas Project, I'm going to include 2 items. The only 2 items that we're going to need is going to be the actual kit file, and we're also going to need the cost and sell report. I can now talk to the order desk. Hi, order desk. Please see attached for a project and please order. If there's any notes that you want to add to the order desk, let them know. Within 24 hours, you're going to get a response back email from them indicating what the current production time is and if there's any notes or any communications that they want to actually speak to you with. But otherwise, that is how to do final kit file checks. The cost and sell report and the kit file is now attached. I'm going to click on the send this to the order desk. Your plan view that we originally created and the render, that will be for the actual installer. So have these plan views ready to go. This is open and you can see all the notes and annotations that I provided. It's all on our plan view. This will be great for your customer to sign off. They can sign off on each page here, and you can also give this down to your installer. And they now have a fantastic blueprint. This is up to every dealer's responsibility. So please ensure that everything is labeled correctly there. To recap our session today, this is called the final checks prior to placing an order. We've checked our modules on every single elevation and top view. We've checked all our drawers, our profiles, our colors. We've added our notes and our line-to-line annotations. In our design info, we added the necessary information in our customer's first name and last name, the dealer name, as well as the designer name and the actual area of the room. We're always going to have 1 design file per room. If you have 7 closets in a house, you're going to have 7 different kit files to produce. Once we're all done, the design information, we're now going to save it and hit the plan view, the cost and sell, grab our renders, and now we're going to send only the cost and sell and kit file to orders@perfectfitcanada.com. If you have any questions, feel free to actually email us at support@perfectfitcanada.com or call us directly at our line. We have several different lines. Our direct line to our main office is 587-230-8120. Once again, that's 587-230-8120, or preferably support@perfectfitcanada.com. We can certainly do final review checks with you and show you a little bit more and train you on this. If you like us a little bit more help on maybe a private session, again, we can certainly do whatever you'd like. The support@perfectfitcanada.com email is a group email. So the next available person or team member can certainly help you out, or we'll pass this on to the appropriate party. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we will look forward to you on next week's webinar.